What's up, what's up, what's up, everybody? My name is Justin, also known as Shit Just Works, if this is the first time you're coming to this channel. And oh my god, am I so excited to finally, it's been a long time coming for Riot to release some news on Legends of Runeterra. And oh my god, it's finally here. It's finally here. They released it in a batch with all the other news of, multiple other games that they're working on right now. And it's coming soon. So if you want to find out when it's going to be here and you want to see another review of another one of the regions for Legends of Runeterra, definitely stick around. That is coming right up. So before we get to what Riot finally released, and I'll actually show the source as well, I'm going to get into what we're doing with this video, and that is going to be reviewing Ionia. Ionia is a very strong region thus far, at least it was in the beta, mainly because it has a spell called Deny, which I still think is super overrated, but I digress. We're going to do it in the same format as the other regions, so if you haven't checked out the other region reviews, click those links below in the description. Also, for anybody returning, just two quick things. First thing, you can see that kind of right here in this area. You can see my mic a little bit. I'm working on trying to get that out of the frame, but I did just get a new boom arm, so I'm hoping that improves the audio just a little bit. It's raised, it's closer to my face, so we'll see how that goes. And also, in the description below, if you guys are curious whatsoever as to what I use for the equipment to record these videos and stuff like that, there's links in the description below to Amazon. Those links are affiliate links, so if you do decide to purchase something from Amazon, it does help me out a little bit, so appreciate the support if you do. And that's not all, folks. We also, like I mentioned, got some news from Riot. So I'm going to go ahead and go over a couple of the categories with Ionia right quick, and then go into what Riot has actually said about the release, what we can expect to hopefully play this game ASAP. All right, so first up, we have Aggro, as always, and we are giving Ionia a 5 out of 6 for Aggro. They are insane at being aggressive early game. So first card I really want to mention that sticks out for Aggro is Shadow Fiend, and this also combos insanely well with the one and only Shadow Isles deck that abuses the heck out of Ephemeral, alongside Zed, Dusk and Dawn, and a lot of other cards that basically revive all of your Ephemeral allies. In addition to that, and they could have crap for the rest of their aggro cards. They really could. And this card would give them the 5 out of 6, and that is Fae Blade Twirler. This card to me is absolutely nuts busted. If this is played in the correct deck, which is obviously some sort of Yasuo control deck, you could also play it in a non-control deck and just go completely aggro. You're basically going to have this be a 3-3 from the moment you drop it. The key with this is that it keeps the +2/+0. It's not just for the turn. And because of that, this thing can get incredibly big. It's insane. And being that Ionia has things like Deny, it's going to be pretty difficult to get Fae Blade Twirler off the board as your opponent. All right, control. And now, this was hard because Freljord was the last video. Again, link in the description, also a card up top. It was hard to decide which one was going to get 6. In the end, I ended up going with Ionia getting a 5 out of 6. Freljord to me just has way too many strong spells to not get that 6 out of 6. Ionia is a very close second and barely got eked out. They have a ton of good control cards here. Deny is obviously the one that screams control right from the get. You have something like Ritual of Renewal, which, again, heal anything 7, draw 1. Large heal like that in big chunks screams control, and it also draws 1 to replace itself. This class also has by far the most heal. There's not a whole lot of lifesteal cards in this game right now, but if you go ahead and search lifesteal for this class, honestly, there's a ton of it. I mean, this is probably most of, if I search for through all the regions, look at, there's only 3 other lifesteal from other regions, and 4 of them are in Ionia. So what is there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 7 total, and 4 are in Ionia. So additionally, you have something like Karma, which as a champion, they're instantly going to put it in a control deck. Guarantee it. I will say it is funny though with how good they are with control, Karma's really the only true control champion. You could argue Shen a little bit. All right, as always, if you are enjoying this video and you cannot wait until Legends of Runeterra comes out, just like me, hit that sub button. I got plenty of more content coming up until the release and after. And also hit that like button if you like the video. With that said, I do have a little bit of news as far as Legends of Runeterra goes and Riot's announcement. So this right here is actually Riot's page on their NA website for League of Legends. They released, if you haven't seen it already, definitely check it out. Basically a season 2020 teaser with some Riot representatives on there kind of saying what's up. And then this trailer just came out today, is an amazing video. From there, they kind of have a timeline over the next 7 days of stuff that's going to be introduced as far as news is concerned and released. So you can see here that day 1 is gameplay and ranked, so that's probably going to be League of Legends oriented, which I do also play League of Legends. Love that game. Day 2 is Universe, so that's probably more on a broad scale. It might even be something regarding movies or shows or something like that. Most importantly, Day 3, Legends of Runeterra. So I'm hoping that means that's going to be Sunday, the 12th. Legends of Runeterra is going to have some news coming out. And honestly, there's nothing confirmed here, but for you Reddit goers, there has been some talk on Reddit of possibly them, announcing a release date on the 12th, and then Tuesday going ahead and releasing access to the beta. Could all happen on Sunday. Who knows? But pretty good chance we're going to get some sort of news on Sunday. Worst case scenario, it's Tuesday of next week. If they go 3 business days, who knows how technical we're going to get there. But I am so excited to finally have access to this again, and I cannot wait to start playing around with some new decks. All right, so next up for Ionia, we have the combo category, and I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this. I can already tell. I am going to go ahead and give them a 2 out of 6. Now, I know everyone's first thought is probably, wow, what about the stun and the recall with Yasuo? There's a lot of cards that work together with that strategy, but this rating is based primarily on the region's ability to work with other classes as well, right? So this recall strategy and this stun strategy is really inherent in just Ionia. Now, there are some cards from the Noxus region that do also have some stun and recall capabilities, notably Katarina. I don't think Katarina's that great, and honestly, their stun cards, like I think you have the Arachnoid Sentry, which if I can pull this up here, which just got nerfed as well. It's all right if you have a Yasuo on the board. You also have Minotaur Reckoner, which it's kind of like the Freljord card where it freezes the weakest enemy, or it might be the strongest enemy. So there is some potential with Noxus, but my real problem is that the combo itself with the stuns and the recalls, it just seems so kind of finicky and flaky, where if you don't have a Yasuo or you don't have something that directly combos with that stun and recall strategy, you're screwed, for lack of a better term. You're not really going to be able to keep up in tempo or even card advantage. I think this does have the most potential to prove me wrong, and honestly, I hope it does. It's a super fun deck to play. All right, next up we have mid-range, and with the mid-range, I think is where they shine a little bit more, because with mid-range, this region can pressure a ton with stuns and recalls. You have, large bodies like Yone Windchaser, for an example, that stuns 2 enemies when dropped. Now, obviously, if you do have Yasuo or Faye on the board, you're getting even more value out of Yone. But considering that in this game, cards can attack right away. Let's say you already have some other big bodies on the board. You drop a Yone, you stun 2 enemies. Now you have a pretty good shot probably for game, to be honest with you, just to go face and probably bring their Nexus to 0. They also have Mina Swiftfoot, which recalls 3 enemies, which I think is insane, and again, would go very well with Yasuo. And that's why I think it's less combo that this deck does well at, and it's more mid-range. So for mid-range, it is going to get a 5 out of 6. All right, next up, we have spells for Ionia. So when we take into account all of their spells, we're definitely giving them a 5 out of 6. They have just some awesome overall spells. You have stuff like Deny, again, which we already mentioned. Stuff like Ritual of Renewal. Dawn and Dusk is an awesome card. I love this card because not only is it just a great overall card, it allows this to integrate with multiple other regions, which those are the cards that make or break card games. Any card that enables one deck to basically make multiple different deck types, I think is great and healthy for any card game. With that said, it needs to be within reason. We all know how good the Shadow Isles deck is, but I do like the card overall. You also have have stuff like Will of Ionia, which is definitely a pretty unique card, but does work in that deck type that we were just talking about earlier. Stuff that's underrated, I think, like Twin Disciples. And you have one of the best healing spells in the game in Health Potion, which I also think is underrated. All right, next up we have just the burst spells. And the burst spells for Ionia are going to get actually a 3 out of 6. And that's mainly because most of the strong spells in this region come from fast or slow spells. Health Potion, I think, is kind of the savior here. I think Health Potion is actually very, very good, very, very underrated. And Spirit's Refuge is good in the Shen Fiora deck, as well as Key Guardian, but that's just one specific deck type. I do think they're okay. I don't think they're anything crazy like Freljord or some other classes, so they are going to get a 3 out of 6. All right, next up we have Champions. And with Freljord getting a 5 out of 6, Ionia is actually going to be getting the 6 out of 6. Shen. Let's start with Shen. Shen is awesome for the Fiora deck type. He also has an insanely strong ability, which again I think is super underrated, of giving a supported ally barrier, which is wicked good. It's also very kind of like a neutral card. I feel like it can be paired with a lot of decks that most people haven't even tried out yet. Everybody just kind of went to the Fiora because it made sense. Fiora, Shen, barrier, Fiora stays on the field, can get the 4-follower win condition, but I think his utility can actually be used in far more decks than he has been recently. Yasuo, like I mentioned earlier, is in that stun recall deck. Honestly, his card just screams fun too. And one of the things I always look for when I'm looking at these different regions right now is how fun is that region to play. And honestly, Yasuo makes Ionia very, very fun to play with that deck. So whether or not it stays as a top tier deck or drops a little bit, it's still going to be super fun to play. Not only do I think Karma is great, but I think that the game needs something like Karma. For me, I think any game needs some way to 100% fully control the game. What I mean by that is any control deck should be able to beat an aggro deck consistently, right? A full-on face aggro deck consistently. If you kind of look at the cycle of what counters what in general trading card games, Karma just screams that. Karma screams delay, delay, delay the game until you have the pieces in your hand and do what you want to do, and then you can go after your opponent. She creates super value in just adding more spells to your hand, which is what allows you to delay that. Last but not least, we have Zed, and Zed is also fun, honestly. He's also very good, and having that ephemeral effect pairing with, you know, another class like Shadow Isles, his ability to work in with other regions again makes this region more versatile than it would have been without Zed. And I do think it's interesting that the same region kind of has a really aggro card in Zed, and then also has a really control card in Karma. So next up we have the followers, and honestly, they're okay. We're giving them a 3 out of 6 for followers. So with them getting a 3 out of 6, I do feel like this is the one that might change the most and shift the most to something like a 5 out of 6. And that's mainly because of a couple different cards I've seen getting played a little bit more. One in River Shaper, attack, draw spell. Shadow Assassin, when I'm summoned, draw 1. Both of these are very good for kind of quick OTK decks that are trying to dig for their cards very fast. And I didn't really see a whole lot of lifesteal cards played at all during the first 2 betas, and I do think those are going to increase in popularity a little bit. I feel like these could get better in the Emerald Awakener, even the Herald of Spring. And then obviously you do have great cards like Fey Blade Twirler. I will say, I know most people are going to say, well, what about Mino? What about Yon? Yes, they're good, but again, they're literally only good in one particular deck. Other cards that I do think are kind of sleepers that might see a little bit more attention, you have Kinku Lifeblade. Elusive seemed to be one of the better keywords when the beta was out, and Kinku Wayfinder. If the 1-cost deck becomes a thing, and if it does become a thing, that means it would be with Professor Von Yip, which we also mentioned in the Piltover and Zahn video. And I do think that's another sleeper that may start to see more play depending on if the 1-cost ally deck actually takes off. So for now, 3 out of 6, but I do foresee these followers becoming much, much better as some changes are made and as the full meta begins to take shape. And for power cards, we get the last category. We're giving them a 4 out of 6. And the 2 power cards I want to focus on here is Dawn and Dusk. And the first one I want to focus on here is Dawn and Dusk, which I think is just a super awesome, cool card. It's just a very good card design. The effect is just good on its own. And when you do start to combo it with some other, classes or regions like Shadow Isles, it just becomes nasty. You also have, of course, Deny, which is obviously a power card. I do think it's great. I don't think it's as great as everybody thinks it is because it cannot stop burst spells, but I can't end this video without saying that Deny is a power card for Ionia. And the last power card that we're gonna kind of, it's not quite a power card yet, but I want to keep an eye on it, is Shadow Assassin. I think this card has turned out to be very, very good. To have that elusive effect on a 2/2 while drawing a card seems insane. I mean, honestly, a 2/2 elusive for 3 is probably okay in and of itself. Maybe like 2 with 3 health, but having the card draw as well is insane. So I think this will become very, very prevalent in whatever meta starts to develop. So that's it. They got a total of 36 out of 54. So if you want to, again, see the other rankings for the other regions, hit up the description below. We got links to everything down there. As usual, if you guys disagree, if you have some different ideas, don't be scared to comment. I would love to hear what you have to say, especially with the game just coming out. I'm going to have a lot of play testing and a lot of messing around with these cards to do to really fully understand what everything is capable of. We have 2 more regions left in Demacia and Shadow Isles. Those will be coming up in my next 2 videos. And at that point, I am hoping, fingers crossed, that Legends of Runeterra will be back in beta. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be back next time with Demacia. And until then, stay positive. Peace out.